Hi, I'm about to give you a little background on the knowledge and why it was sent through me. And the reality is that when it arrived, I didn't even question why it came through me because I knew the knowledge was answering a question that I have asked since I was 10 years old. Every day of my life, I kept looking around the world and I'm saying, how does this thing we call life work? That's going to be an important point when I tell you that focusing on your questions is very important. So let me give you a start. One day we were driving by a White House, my best friend and I, who died of a cerebral hemorrhage at age 17, by the way. He was going to be my roommate in college. We were driving by this White House and I looked at him and I said, Mike, I'm going to marry the girl that lives there. Now, please keep in mind, I didn't even know there was a girl that lived there. That's how wild this whole is. Mike looked back at me and he said, I know. Well, Mike was no longer with us after a short period of time. But I will tell you that one night after a football game, one of the women that were in the room was having trouble with a boyfriend from out of town. And her friend said, why don't you have Don walk you home? Now, I was a captain of the football team. You can't tell it now, but I used to be pretty good shape. And the reality is that she was a captain of the cheerleading team. So I said, sure, come on, I'll walk you home. Snowy, cold, icy, Western New York weather. And we walked right up to that White House. Now, I knew without any hesitation that I had just walked my future wife home. She had no idea. But the reality was that happened. And I will tell you why that's so important to understand when we talk about quantum entanglement that most of you maybe have never heard of before, but some of you have. So we're going to talk about all of those things in the future, but let me continue with my life. I used to work on a farm because we lived in farm country and think about my future. And I knew I wanted to go to work for a large company, wear a shirt and tie, and become somebody. That company happened to be a company called Eastman Kodak Company. And I spent 36 years with them. They moved me 7 different times, all to fix different sales areas. And why that's so important is because I never lost focus on what I wanted to do. And I'm going to ask you, as we progress, when we learn about how life works, to remember these things. I ran through a whole series of moves, of promotions, went from a poor country, Western New York farm boy to an area vice president of a big company. I'm nobody special. I didn't think, hey, I'm not a genius. I didn't score 1,500 of my SATs. I simply focused on what I wanted. And for all of you youngsters out there, all of you, from age 5 to 25, stay focused, but you have to know what you want before you can get the help that you're asking for. How do I get there? You'll be able to do it. I want to continue on. So after doing all of that stuff with the company, they went bankrupt. Destroyed me, I thought, at least financially. They got me pretty good. And the reality was that I picked myself back up and continued to live a good life. All the time with that same woman that I walked home that night, because I needed her support to be able to be sitting here right now in front of you. So I'm going to give you the 4 words that I've lived by my whole life. Focus, believe, receive, and gratitude. Be thankful for what you get every day of your life. Now, this is all you need to know about me, except for the last little piece. Where does the knowledge come in? The knowledge arrived after me hitting rock bottom, after the bankruptcies, after the 2008 housing crash, where I lost a big house that I built on 2 country clubs. After all of that crashed, I asked the question, why? Why did all of this stuff happen to me? And it's so powerful when you understand that the knowledge arrived right in that time frame where I woke up paralyzed. And as I woke up, all I could see was a clock at the end of the bed. And I watched that clock tick away minutes from 6 o'clock to 6:24. Something was happening that I couldn't explain. I didn't know. And then all of a sudden, everything that was leaving from around me, and you'll learn that that's your reality, basically changed the direction and came back at me like a hurricane. It provided, through a portal, through a channel, if you will, knowledge that shared the power of knowing how life works. And if you don't think that I wasn't scared when that happened, I thought I had died, but I hadn't. It wasn't near death. It wasn't anything. It was simply holding me in place so that I could receive the knowledge. And my wife and sister remind me of something that happened 30 years before that. Same, similar situation, but somehow, because I was young and strong, I rolled out of bed and disrupted the information. But this time, I just said, well, if that's the end, bring it on. And I just laid there. And these insights, and I'm going to tell you their frequencies, but these insights came to me. And when they did, I smiled. In 6:24, it was an earthly minute, but it was a lifetime of information, an eternity of information that had come through me. And I'm going to share with you all of it. And it's not going to cost you anything either. I'm Don Saunders. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for listening up to this point. Please join me in the next video and the video after that as we explain more about the details of how life works.